Animated Parashá with Micha, Animated 2.0. Welcome to another Animated Parashá with Micha, Animated. This week, it's Parashat Vayshlach, and sent it. In this version, you ask and I answer, or at least, I'll try. Here we go.
Micha, what happened when Yaakov left Laban's house?
Finally, after 20 years in Laban's house and another 2 years on the road, Yaakov met his brother who was angry with him and wanted to kill him. Yaakov received news through messengers. Be careful, your brother is coming from the other direction with 400 armed men. Imagine what Jacob thought at that moment. I have a family with children and women, and on the other side, my brother with 400 armed men. After 22 years, is the anger still in his heart? Does he still want to kill his brother? And what would you do, my dear students, in a situation like this?
I think 400 is a lot. How about 250? 200 people, okay? Try to talk to him and find a solution. Yaakov, he had to build a sandcastle, and he would take cover in the sandcastle. Create sand soldiers, and have 600 men against 400 men.
Yaakov prepared for a battle, dividing his family into two groups. If Esau attacks group number 1, group number 2 will flee. If Esau attacks group number 2, group number 1 will flee. Yaakov prepared by praying to God and asking for his help, as anyone who needs help understands that God is present in their life. He prayed for Hashem to save him from this war. And the third thing, Yaakov prepared a beautiful gift for Esau, sending messengers with sheep, lambs, and camels to calm his brother's heart so he wouldn't come to war. On the night before, Yaakov met with Esau. Yaakov crossed a river called Yabok. Imagine that he had to take each of his children and cross the river, and his wives, and cross the river one by one. When he had crossed them all, he realized he had forgotten small jars. And like every good Jew who saves everything and wastes nothing, Yaakov returned to the river to retrieve those small jars. When he got there, he encountered a fighter.
Hey, Micha, did Yaakov know how to fight MMA?
No, this wasn't a UFC or MMA fight. It was a fight between Yaakov and an angel, Esau's angel. They fought until dawn, and Esau's angel hit Yaakov in the thigh, making him lame. But the winner of the fight was Yaakov. Yaakov didn't let the angel go until he gave him a beracha, a blessing, and the blessing that Esau's angel gave to Yaakov. Now, he would be called not only Yaakov, but also Yisrael, which means dominion, conquest, victory. At dawn, God performed the miracle that the sun could heal Yaakov's thigh, and he continued on his way to meet his brother. What do you think happened in this epic encounter between two brothers who hadn't seen each other in 22 years? When Esau saw Yaakov and Yaakov saw Esau, Yaakov, the righteous brother, knelt 7 times before his brother, and his whole family followed suit. Esau was honored and asked, "Wow, who are all these people?" Yaakov replied, "These are gifts, the beautiful things God has given me in my life." Esau asked, "And these belong to you, Jacob?" And Yaakov replied, "These are gifts God has given me, and part of them I want to give to you as a present." Esau replied, "No,
Yesh li rav.
I have plenty." Yaakov insisted, "Please, take our gifts." The encounter ended peacefully. They embraced and there was no fighting. This provides a valuable lesson. We all have disagreements with friends, family, and close people. We may stop talking to them, ignore them, hold anger in our hearts. The Torah prohibits harboring anger, but the story of Yaakov and Esau is an example that after all this time, what we need to do is embrace, come together, and seek the paths of peace. It's the paths of peace that bring tranquility to one's life. If you have a friend, a family member, if you're not on good terms with them, find every possible way to reconcile and seek peace. Ultimately, it's about your peace and tranquility. Next question.
Micha, what do you think about someone hanging out with a bad influence?
At the end of the encounter between Esau and Yaakov, Esau suggested that they all walk together and return to the land of Israel. Yaakov didn't want his children to learn from Esau, who was a bad influence. However, it's not right to hurt someone by saying, "You're a bad influence, and you can't hang out with my kids." So Yaakov wisely said to him, "Look, my children are very young and you're much older. My kids can't keep up with your pace. You go ahead and we'll arrive later together in the land of Israel." This way, Yaakov didn't hurt Esau and he didn't expose his children to bad influences. So if you have people close to you who are a bad influence, Use wisdom not to hurt them, but also not to be near them, as they may lead you down the wrong path. Another significant lesson can be found in the personalities of Yaakov and Esau and the way they view their lives. Esau said, "I have plenty," an arrogant way to say, "I don't need anything more in life, I have plenty." On the other hand, Yaakov said,
יש לי כל.
"I have everything." The difference between "I have everything" and "I have plenty" is that a person who has everything doesn't necessarily have much. Everything, even with little. When you are content with what little you have everything. A person who always says, "I have plenty," will always want more. A person who is content with everything, even if it's little, will be satisfied. This is a great lesson. Finally, Jacob was back in the land of Israel after 22 years of many challenges and difficult journeys in his life. Yaakov thought he could rest, and his life would be peaceful. Little did he know what was about to happen. In the city of Shechem, when his daughter Dinah went to see non-Jewish girls dancing, she was kidnapped by the prince of Shechem, named Shechem, and forcibly taken to his castle. Shechem fell in love with Dinah and wanted to marry her. Obviously, she didn't want to marry Shechem. She was the daughter of Jacob, and she wanted to marry a Jewish boy. Shechem then saw Jacob, and Dinah's brothers all told him, "There's no way we can let our daughter marry you. We have the Brit Milah. We're circumcised. How can we give our daughter to someone who doesn't have this covenant with the Creator?" Shechem replied, "I will go back to my city and ask everyone to have the Brit Milah. Maybe then our people can intermarry." Shechem returned to his city, had the Brit Milah performed on all the men, their circumcision. On the third day, the most painful day, Dinah's two valiant brothers, Shimon and Levi, took their swords and destroyed and killed the entire city, rescuing their sister Dinah. Of course, Jacob was very angry with his sons. "How could you do such a cruel act, entering a city and killing everyone?" And they replied, "But what about our sister? Can she be taken by anyone?" Dinah then returned home, and once again, the lesson was evident. Be careful with your surroundings, your company. They can lead you down bad and dangerous paths. After the episode with Dinah, Jacob traveled to the city of Bethel, made an offering to God, and when they were on their way to Bethlehem in the desert, Rachel was giving birth to her last child, who would become the youngest of the tribes of Israel, the famous Benjamin. And during childhood, unfortunately, Rachel passed away. Before she died, she called her son Ben-Oni, son of my suffering. But Yaakov called him Ben-Yamin, son of the land of Israel, because he was the only son born in the land of Israel. Rachel intentionally was not buried in Bethlehem, but in the middle of the desert. That point serves as a reference for all the people of Israel who were in the diaspora longing for the land of Israel. Rachel is there with the people, she weeps with them. Rachel mevaka al baneha. Rachel is the only one of the matriarchs who is not buried with the other matriarchs and patriarchs in the famous Me'arat HaMachpelah that Abraham bought from Ephron for his wife Sarah. After this episode, Jacob traveled to the city of Hebron to see his mother, but he couldn't because she had already passed away. Rivka was buried in Me'arat HaMachpelah, and shortly after, Isaac, at 180 years old, was buried next to Rivka.
ירחל מבכה, ירחל מבכה, רחל מבכה, הבניה.
Is the Parashat over? I think it is, right? And here ends another Animated Parashá with Micha Animated. Tell me what you think of these teachings in the video's comments. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and like our channel. Don't forget to share the Parashah in your home, with your family, and of course, at the Shabbat table. See ya! The Animated Parashá with Micha Animated 2.0.